Assalamu alaikum and welcome to another episode of Living Islam in America. I'm your host, Johari Abdul Malik. Give me your tired, your poor, your wretched masses yearning to be free. Those are the welcoming words of Our Lady Liberty, inviting all to the shores of America who are hardworking, thirsty for education, and are willing to embrace the American civic and patriotic values. Those are the words of my esteemed guest today, Ambassador AKBAR Ahmed, a Pakistani anthropologist who, along with two of his former students from American University, young ambassadors themselves, who with video cameras in their hands took a 9-month road trip across America, visiting over 70 cities and 100 mosques. In the end, what they produced was a groundbreaking documentary that introduces to viewers to the wide swath of Muslim communities scattered across the U.S. that are a part of the American Muslim tapestry, and some that are mosques that have been here for generations. The film reveals that the recognition of the humanity of others is the key to a civilized society. All that and more coming up on Living Islam in America. Here in the studio with me is one of Islam's great luminaries of the 21st century, Ambassador AKBAR Ahmed, America University's Ibn Khaldun Chair of Islamic Studies. Dr. Ahmed is also the first distinguished chair of Middle East and Islamic Studies at the U.S. Naval Academy in Annapolis, Maryland. He has served as a non-resident senior fellow at the Brookings Institution, and with him are two of his co-producers of the film. Former student of Ambassador Ahmed, Jonathan Hayden, who is from Huntsville, Alabama. He has worked with Dr. Ahmed since 2005 as his assistant. Jonathan was a research assistant on Ambassador's previous project, Journey into Islam, the Crisis of Globalization, from which they traveled to Malaysia and Indonesia. Lastly, we have Mr. Frankie Martin, who is from Baltimore, Maryland. He is an Ibn Khaldun Chair Research Fellow whose interests in Islamic world relations and religion and African culture and American foreign policy. He has advised government agencies including the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, the FBI, and the Department of Homeland Security. Frankie is also a research assistant on the ambassador's previous project, Journey into Islam, the Crisis of Globalization. Alhamdulillah, I'm so grateful, Dr. Ahmed, to have you with us. It is really a great pleasure as a leader and a thinker, breaking barriers and stereotypes for generations. I'll let you in on a secret. At Howard University, I sit with Dr. Suleiman Yang sometimes.
Oh, a great hero of mine.
And he talks about the early days when you guys started this work. Tell me about the project.
The Project One really is something that concerns or should concern all thinking Americans, certainly all thinking Muslims. It is looking at the Muslim community in America, but in the context of American identity, American history, which means that we had to decide to travel throughout the length and breadth of America. With my trustee team, and you see some members on my left, we went to 75 cities, we went to 100 mosques, we heard the stories of ordinary people, ordinary Muslims. We met some luminaries, some very famous Muslims, Sheikh Hamza Yusuf, for example. We met some wonderful imams along the way, some wonderful African-American imams. You know a lot of them, Fatin Saifullah in Las Vegas, and many, many people like that along the way. And then we talked to non-Muslims. We talked to rabbis and bishops and ordinary Jews and Christians and asked them about Muslims. And we conducted questionnaires. We had 2,000 questionnaires filled in as a result of this journey. So this is probably the first most detailed ethnographic account of the Muslims of America. It's not only the film that came out of it, we are in the middle of now writing the book, which will be published by Brookings Press. So we hope that this will allow Americans and the world to see not only the Muslim community at this time in history, but also America, because the two are
Yes,
connected.
indeed, indeed. Now, I know that we always hear in the news that the largest concentration of Arabs in America is in
Dearborn.
Dearborn. Did you visit the Detroit Dearborn
Yes,
community?
certainly. Dearborn was our first major port of call, in fact, and we were received very warmly by Imam Qazwini, the prominent
Yes,
Imam
yes.
there, and he was very kind. It was
Islamic Center of America.
America, and it's beautiful, beautiful building. And he had a big dinner for us. It was iftar, the month of fasting, and we had iftar with him.
Fantastic.
And he arranged for us for all the leading Muslim figures there. There were African Americans, and they were all from different backgrounds. And as a result, the next few days, we were able to really get to see and meet a lot of people.
So who'd you meet?
Well, we met Naja Bazi, for example, this remarkable...
Naja Bazi is a fantastic woman. She's in that the documentary, Muhammad Legacy of a Prophet.
Yes,
she's the nurse.
she's extremely articulate and a great ambassador really for both her culture and for America. And she took us around Dearborn, and she told us some remarkable things, that the perception of Muslims in America is that most of them are recent immigrants or who've come a few decades ago. And her family, in fact, has been in Dearborn over a century. She's 3 or 4 years. They've been there since the 1890s. Wow. And they came very, very early on. And she recalls her grandmothers and grandfathers, and they had been working in the Ford factory, and they had roots there. And she told us some amazing things. That what came through was her very passionate devotion to her identity as a Muslim, but also her identity as an American, and the two fused in her personality. Then we went, Imam, to a remarkable African-American Imam, to Al-Amin.
Okay, I know Al-Amin.
Yeah, and we were with him, and we were with him that night in his mosque when we learned of the passing of one of the greatest Imams, that is Imam W.D. Muhammad. We were there at the prayer, so we went and said prayers with him.
And that mosque is part of his community. But you guys had, what was your experience there? I mean, these are people that we know, but this was your first experience.
This was one of the first stops, as Ambassador Ahmed said, and we met so many people in the community, so many young Muslims in the community, younger people that were saying they were confident being Muslim, they were confident to be American. And for me, as an American traveling through my own country and seeing it through the lens of the Muslims here was like seeing a new country in a way, familiar, but because of the Islamic experience. And people said but people said over and over again that America is actually the best place to be a Muslim because of religious freedom.
Yeah. I'd say the same thing. I was really amazed, and through my experiences meeting the Muslims, and in Dearborn, where they're so confident and so they're American, but they're Muslim, and they're confident in their Islam, it made me, and they welcomed us, it made me more comfortable as an American.
Wow.
Made me comfortable in my own country. So it was an amazing experience.
We're going to touch on that tension, the question of comfort or not comfort after having experienced people who are living Islam in America. We're going to take a little short break and maybe watch some video and